I just had the most meager lunch I could have ever had in my life. I had nuts, cheese, and now I'm drinking a cup of coffee. But you know what? I'm feeling kind of good. Hold on. It's not the best cup I've ever brewed. I will admit that. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're doing well. I hope you're feeling good. Hope that the video finds you in a good place. Today, we're going to listen to Fairport Convention. We're going to listen to their whole album, Unhalfbricking, released 1969. You know why? Because why not? I was thinking of albums I wanted to pursue and do a whole, video for just one album, and I have a ton of them. Actually a ton. But I figured I would go ahead and get to this one that was on my list. We've already heard Who Knows Where the Time Goes off of this album. I might listen to it again right now. We might not. Who knows? We'll just kind of see how things play out. But yeah, we're going to go through the whole album in this video. Genesis Hall, Tu Dois Partir, Autopsy, A Sailor's Life, Cajun Woman, Who Knows Where the Time Goes, maybe. Percy's song, an $1 million bash. I don't know where I got the 8 from. Anyways, this is one of those albums, of course, I've heard so much about. A lot of comments about this one, so I'm happy to go ahead and give it a listen. Now, not that it matters, because with whole album reactions I edit it anyway, but I know for a fact that Fairport Convention blocks, because the past 2 songs that I had done from them, I think I've only done 2 songs from them, they were both blocked immediately. So so I know for a fact that this would be blocked, but it's edited anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. So without further ado, it's Sunday afternoon. Yeah, Sunday afternoon right now, actually. So this is, I would imagine, going to be perfect for the day. And I hope that it's perfect for you guys as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. Fairport Convention, we're going to start off with Genesis Hall. Let's go.
But you see both sides of a quarrel. Oh, helpless and slow.
Let me tell you something before we move on into the next track. Let me tell you something really quick. When I purposely do a full album reaction, and I choose the album that I want to listen to, I try to choose according to mood, sure. Like I said, it's Sunday, it's fall, and the album cover just looks like fall to me. And I make sure that I have enough time to sit down and enjoy and just relax. I do that, of course, with every reaction, every song I do, but when it comes to albums, specifically, I'm going to be here for a while. So I brew an okay cup of coffee. It's not the greatest this time. But I just choose something so I can kind of sit down and enjoy it. Yeah, we're going to talk about it, we're going to analyze it, and etc. But I'm just kind of looking to just relax and listen to some music. So when this song hits Genesis Hall, it's magical. It's putting me in that perfect place. It's what I would expect. It's better than I expected. Sandy Denny, her voice is just like a lady of the lake. Pure, telling. There's story going on. She's just beautiful, enigmatic with her voice. I really enjoy the mix of acoustic and electric guitars that's waving through the mix here. The acoustic bringing that traditional folk sound to everything, as does Sandy's voice and her singing. Her delivery is very traditional. But then the electric to just kind of sharpen up the edges, to brighten up the dark shadows and the dark corners with a little bit of brightness, a little bit of color. I really like that. What I also really liked is the drumming. Martin Lamble on the drums here. And he's not drumming as perhaps stereotypically you would hear in an acoustic folk song. He's putting some rock behind that. He's putting some power behind it. He's just not, playing like brushes or anything light. Yeah, it's light in places, but those fills into the chorus of the music really stems from rock and roll and blues, which we get a little bit of a bluesy solo later on. That's really good, and I wasn't expecting the drumming to be so powerful in that regard. I'm expecting good drumming, no doubt, but I just didn't expect it to rock out a little bit, just a little bit. But the whole track has this very, very beautiful sense of traditional melodies and just little things like that that capture you. It's a very, very beautiful track. I like that a lot. Let's talk about these lyrics, though. Let's talk about this story. My father, he rides with your sheriffs, and I know he would never mean harm, But to see both sides of a quarrel is to judge without haste or alarm. Right? To see both sides of some sort of argument, dispute, you don't want to judge too hasty if you can see both sides. Oh, helpless and slow, and you don't have anywhere to go. You take away homes from the homeless and leave them to die in the cold. The gypsy who begs for your presence, he will laugh in your face when you're old. So not a really good example. not a good father figure. Well, one man, he drinks up his whiskey, another he drinks up his wine, for they'll drink till their eyes are red with hate for those of a different kind. When the rivers run thicker than trouble, I'll be there at your side in the flood. So it's all I can do to keep myself from taking revenge on your blood. There's a deeper story going on here. But I love that line, when the rivers run thicker than trouble, I'll be at your side in the flood. Even when things are at their worst, she'll be besides this person. Now, who is it? Who is it that she's talking about? Because I know they're talking about, or she's talking about her father riding with the shares. Is she talking specifically about her father? In real life, or at least to the story? Maybe he got in with a bad crowd. Maybe he is the bad crowd. He is the danger. He is the one who knocks. I know, but there's some trouble brewing with the people, at least that are around, the sheriffs and stuff. I'm trying to see if there's maybe some information about this one. I really do like it, though. Let me see. I'm not seeing anything. Nope. Not that I see. Oh, here. The opening track, Genesis Hall, is a slow 3/4 waltz on which Simon Nickel played dulcimer, while Sandy Denny provided the vocals. It was the B-side. Genesis Hall was the nickname of the former Bell Hotel in Drury Lane, which had become a squat in early 1969 and later became noted for mass eviction by the police. Okay, so that explains at least the line where she says making the homeless, or taking away the homes from the homeless. I got it, okay. And leaving them cold to die in the night. Okay, that makes a little more sense. So like they just got like a mass eviction notice, kind of like a get them out by Friday situation. That ain't good. That ain't fun. Well, let's go ahead and move on into the next track here. I feel so good. This is I already know that this is going to be like just a joy to listen to. This is just going to be a pleasure. Let's move on to the next one here, which is Si Tu Dois Partir. Yes, you something leaving. I don't know what it means. Let's go ahead and let it go.
Tu dois partir.
You're singing in French now?
Tu sais, j'aurais été plus morte et aussi mauvaise. La 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 la.
That's kind of a party song. That's a very folk celebration party song. I love how we have violin and then accordion, which are making up the main melody and development of this particular track. Of course, everyone's singing alongside it. This is just pure joy. Right, this is downright celebration. I'm going to have to look into the lyrics to see exactly what's either being celebrated or at least spoken about. But this particular track is just like happiness. It actually feels just like elation. But I need to know what they're talking about so I can kind of relate that with the lyrics here. Well, this is interesting. Apparently, this is a Bob Dylan cover, I guess. Hold on. Let's find out what Si Tu Dois Partir means. Let's see if we can find that first. Let me see. Maybe this is it. Took me a small second, just a small second, to realize that it was in French. That's not going to work. Let me get my French to English. My French to English text up here. Okay, if you have to go. Okay, so that's what it means, if you have to go. Now, I guess, like I said, this is a cover from Bob Dylan. If You Gotta Go, Go Now is a song written by Bob Dylan in 1964. It looks like it was released first as a single. And then Fairport Convention, of course, had a charting hit with the French version. I guess even Manfred Mann has another version of that. That's really cool. Okay, so they're covering Bob Dylan, which makes sense. Folk artists working with another, covering one another. But I want to see, I need to get the lyric translations here. That's not the translation. There it is. Okay, I got it. I got you. I'm not asking you to do something you've never done. It's only that it's too late, and it's too dark to find the door. Well, that's one line. And then the chorus. But if you have to go, then go away. If you have to go, then go away. If not, you need to stay the night. So is this a love song like, you know, it's kind of late to leave, you might as well stay kind of thing? Or is there a different meaning? Hold on. I'm just trying to look through to see if I can find something else. Let's look at the next verse. It's not that I'm sorry. It's not that I'm asking you to take part in this game. It's just that I don't have a watch. But anyhow, you always ask about it. I think they just want the other person to stay. And perhaps the other person says yes. Maybe we can translate the last verse. You know I'd have nightmares and a bad conscience too if I prevented you from doing what you trust is right. Okay, I like how they're not forcing the person to stay. Let me get the translation for the final verse here, and then we can get that meaning. But if you have to leave, go away. But if you have to leave, go away. If not, you have to stay the night. Okay, it's just repeating the chorus there. I think that's probably what it's about. Just, hey, you don't have to go. You know, it's getting kind of late. But if you're going to decide, if you're going to make a decision, you better make it now. Make it quick. So don't be lollygagging, if you will. Let's see. In the event, I'm trying to find more information on this one. Let's see. Fairport Convention had been invited to Bob Dylan's London music publishers to hear then unreleased tracks from the Basement Tapes sessions, which was a release from Bob Dylan. The band's bassist, Ashley Hutchings, said, "We loved it all. We would have covered all the songs if we could." In the event, versions of Percy's song $1 Million Bash and If You Gotta Go, Go Now were used on the album. Okay, so that's why they covered a few songs. They just heard them and they fell in love with them. That's actually really, really respectful, and that's a really cool reason to do that. I really enjoy that. So I guess those other two tracks that we mentioned are also going to be covers of Bob Dylan songs. Percy's song and $1 Million Bash, which are at the end of the album. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense then. Huh, I like that a lot though. I like the reason for them covering it. Very respectful. Let's move on into the next track, which takes a slightly morbid tone with Autopsy. Let's go. Ooh.
You're right around the arm. Lend your time to me.
Don't do this to me.
And
I know that we are early in on this album. Listen, I know, but I am declaring that Autopsy is the best track. That is bliss. I need to know what you guys thought of that one, because that hit out of nowhere. Jazzy mood from the bass and the drums. Sandy's singing is softened, but yet given a slightly mystical touch. Something very mysterious about her approach here. It's so soft and relaxed, and there's just a presence there. And it's not like a grand overt kind of presence. And I don't want to say ominous because that's a little too dark from what I'm thinking. But there's just kind of like this mysteriousness, this well-traveledness to her. That like, if you were to meet her, and I'm just kind of putting like the song persona into my mind. If you were to meet her, you're immediately drawn to this person. You can't quite explain why. They have a certain kind of personality that just invites you in lovingly and warmly. And then there's like something about them that you just can't put your finger on. Wow. Sorry, I saw a duck walking across the yard. So I was like, what is that? Like I mentioned, the jazzy influence in the drumming and the bass is so delightful. On YouTube, this is edited, obviously, but I hope that you're watching on Patreon. It's free. You have to talk about that little switch that happened about 1 minute and so odd seconds in there. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it was somewhere around here that... Listen to this. It slows down to a halt.
lend your time.
This is a great album, but this song has taken me to another level. Wow. That's just really good. I cannot tell you. And then I like how at the end of the song they begin to speed it up again just a little bit. Right here. And there's like another instrument in the back. I'm not quite sure what it is. For all I know, it really could just be another guitar. But there's something very, very in the distance behind the, at least, main guitar. And I don't know what it is, but there's some instrument back there that kind of adds another texture. Kind of like the accordion. I don't think it's accordion back there, but it's a texture like an accordion. And I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds absolutely gorgeous. It really could just be, maybe it's dulcimer, actually. Thinking about it. It could be Simon Nickel on dulcimer back there. But what Ashley Hutchings was doing on the bass. Just whirling you around in this calm blue water. Autopsy is an amazing song. I don't even, I feel so happy and satisfied that I'm going through this album, because this is hitting the spot so perfectly. The lyrics. You must philosophize, but why must you bore me to tears? You're red around the eyes, you tell me things no one else hears. You spend all your time crying into the hours, into years. Come lend your time to me, and you will know that you are free. And when you look at me, don't think you are owning what you see. For remember that you're free, and that's what you want to be. So just lend your time to me. This is interesting, and then those lyrics just repeat there. The song title is Autopsy. So an examination of a body of someone after they've passed to figure out their cause of death. She seems like she's talking about a relationship. Now, I really like the line where it says, when you look at me, don't think you're owning what you see. So you don't own me. And remember that you're free. She didn't say, remember I'm free. She said, remember you're free. So perhaps this other person chose to end the relationship between the two. And she's saying, don't look at me. You did this. And remember that you're free. And that's what you want to be. So just lend your time to me. So the relationship ended kind of like a person's life ends when they pass. An autopsy is an examination of what caused them to pass. So perhaps there is an autopsy, in a sense, an examination being done on their relationship, or what was their relationship, to see why it ended. But she says, hey, you did this. Crying the hours into years. She ain't feeling no, that's you. Sorry, you did this. This is your fault. Don't come crawling back to me. Don't come crawling back to me at all. Autopsy is actually amazing. Made my voice crack. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track on the album, which is actually going to end this particular side of the album. And it's actually the longest track here, clocking in at a whopping 11 minutes. Let's go ahead and let it run then, huh?
Proper talk to meet.
I hope that you're having a great time. I'm having a wonderful time. A Sailor's Life is like a traditional traditional folk song, but just, of course, giving it that rock and roll treatment. In some ways, it reminded me a little bit of Pentangle with Cruel Sister. Not necessarily in the story, but the storytelling aspect of it, of course, juxtaposed with the musical aspect as well. Because in that track from Pentangle, the music remains at a very, very straightforward constant. But as the story goes on with little bits and reveals that happen in the story, the instruments accentuate those moments as if to give it weight. Here, with A Sailor's Life, Fairport Convention does the exact same thing. It's much more dynamic than that song, but the storytelling aspect kind of reminded me of that. So, first off, I love stories like this. I love stories in general. Fiction, nonfiction, I don't care. I just like stories. And I especially like traditional stories, lore, and folk tales, that kind of thing. So I love listening to folk music, especially for just reading the lyrics. I just like stories like that. I would read those for days. So I love having a straightforward story. This one being more of a tragedy, definitely, as really her husband and her end up being lost, her in search of her lost husband. And the music does a great job of fulfilling that role as pushing those themes along. I like how we have in the beginning, Sandy is singing alongside Ashley with the bass. Those are like the two figures, the two central figures moving the story along. But just beneath that, you have the guitar, I'm imagining probably the dulcimer, there's probably some other stuff going on, creating these actual ambient and sonic waves underneath Ashley and Sandy that actually feel like waves coming in and out. If you listen to waves at the sea or by the sea, they're gentle at times, they're predictable in their rhythm, but of course they crash. They have a little bit of a distorted sound when they crash. It reminded me how perfectly they captured that here in the music, with, I'm imagining Richard Thompson and Simon Nicol handling that part, as those waves come in and out underneath the bass and underneath Sandy in the beginning of the track. Just kind of steady, stable, and predictable in a good way. Very effective though. However, as the story moves on, things become a lot more powerful and the tension becomes a lot more palpable. So there's a little bit of a twist. Where was it? When she's... Okay, so let me just go over the story real quick. That'll help. So her husband's... let's just go through the lyrics. Let's do that. A sailor's life, it is a merry life. He robs young girls of their heart's delight, leaving them behind to weep and mourn. They never know when they will return. So she just gives us a big synopsis, what happens with sailors and what their lives are like, but then she brings it and makes it personal. Well, there's 4 and 20 all in a row. My true love, he makes the finest show. He's proper, tall, genteel withal, and if I don't have him, I'll have none at all. And then she asks, O Father, build me a bonny boat, that on the wide ocean I may float, and every queen's ship that we pass by there, I'll inquire for my sailor boy. So she is on a journey looking for her missing sailor, her love. She doesn't know where he is. They had not sailed long upon the deep, when a queen's ship they chanced to meet. You sailors all, pray tell me true, does my sweet William sail among your crew? And by the way, her vocals and even the music is very light at this point, and up to this point. And there is a little bit of a sense of hope, and like I said, a lightness in her voice. But it's going to change after this verse. Actually, I think it changes right here. Oh no, fair maiden, he is not here, for he's been drowned, we greatly fear. On yon green island as we pass it by, there we lost sight of your young, or of your sailing boy. What I liked is, honestly, I can't remember if it was this verse or the next one. I'm pretty sure it was the next one that we haven't read yet, in which she responds and we get her reaction. As it says, she wrung her hands and tore her hair. She was like a young girl in great despair, and her little boat against a rock did run. How can I live now? My sweet William is gone. So she wrecks her boat purposely, as she said. If she can't live with him, then she's not going to live at all. So it's a really big tragedy. But at that line where it says, while she wrung her hands and tore her hair, the song loses its peaceful flow. Because up until that point, Sandy was singing very predictable, in line with everything. But as soon as that response from the queen's ship is heard and she realizes that she lost her love, she actually hastens and kind of interrupts the meter and interrupts her line. So instead of it being this steady, predictable, hopeful flow, as soon as that line is heard and the next line starts, she like hits it quicker, as if like she is just stricken with pain and angst and anguish because of learning of her love's death, which I think is such a little small detail, but it makes it hit so much harder. It's like a big reveal in a movie or a show where we, the audience, learn the truth, the character learns the truth, and heartstrings are just pulled. I think that was great. Now, the other great thing is the song, if you will, the singing ends, I don't know, about halfway through, and after that it's just a jam. The jam further builds those waves that were being built before, but now those waves sound a lot more tempestuous, a lot more tumultuous, and like they're just thrashing and crashing. You can imagine her boat crashing into the rocks and just this wreck. And it's just destruction. It's heartbreak. It's loss. And I think the music, the ending jam really, really captures that with just how energetic it is. It's very, it's just very, it's very powerful. I can't think of a better word to describe it. It's just very powerful. There's a lot of anger and sadness and grief, even, in that instrumental jam that empties everything out. But that's a great way of storytelling. That's really, really a great way of storytelling. And I just want to shout out once again Martin Lamble on the drums during that whole section. He's getting down. And I heard him put a little beat there at the end as well. Now, looking at this, because there is a Wikipedia article for A Sailor's Life, it says that A Sailor's Life is an English language folk song which describes the attempt of a young woman to find her lover, a sailor. Eventually she hears that he has drowned and mourns him. It says that the song was printed in 18th century broadsides and collected by W. Percy Merrick in 1899 from Henry Hills of Lodsworth, Sussex. Countless recordings have been made by, of course, many different people. You have Judy Collins, who's recorded some, of course, Fairport Convention as well. It seems that there's a few other variations of the story as well, depending on, I guess, where the story has traveled to in Australia, America, etc., etc. But really, really cool song, especially to end the first side of the album. Let's text my wife really quick. Let's text my wife really quick because she's out shopping for groceries. And when she gets home, I'd like to be able to help her with those groceries. So I'm just going to tell her, text me. See, sometimes you guys get to have a peek into real life. Text me when you're 10 minutes away, and I'll make sure I can help. And you put a little heart there, and we're good to go. All right. Now, let's move on into the next track, which is going to be Cajun Woman, which is going to open up side 2 of the album. Let's go. How cool. Okay, this track opens up this side of the album, so it's just an immediately blast to the face, that's wonderful. That's great fun. This has the sound of an old 60s, 50s classic rock and roll kind of track, except instead of being based in blues, yeah, you can still hear the influence, sure, but instead of being based in blues, they folk it up. That is so creative and so cool. I don't think I've heard anything quite like that. Like, it's identifiable and definitely based on that old rock and roll style, and yet it's like completely different. It has like it reminds me of Elvis a little bit, actually, if I'm being straight up and honest. Wow. And you still get the accordion, you still get the violin in there, like, huh? Completely unexpected. It's a left hook if I've ever had one, and I have not. That's really cool. Huh. That's a great way to open up the album, though. The baby that the preacher gave you in the spring spent the winter with his finger in the undertaker's ring. So I guess the baby was not doing too well. Oh, Cajun woman, some people still call you a queen. I don't believe you're sinking, but look at all the trouble you've been. He grew up in the bayou with a Bible around his neck. He never loved a woman in the way you would expect. Oh, Cajun woman, some people still call you a queen. Don't believe you're sinking, but look at all the trouble you've been. Don't tell him about his father. Don't tell him about his name. The gods won't get to heaven if you crucify his brain. There's something in that line there. I have to think about that one. Well, it's welcome to the graveyard and welcome to the throne. Welcome to the orphanage where your family sit and moan. Welcome to the liquor store and welcome to the poor. Your mama never told you how lucky you are. Oh, Cajun woman, some people still call you a queen. So there's something about the lineage of this baby. But we're talking about like two different characters. We're talking about the baby. But the baby's not the queen, right? I guess the baby could be. But it says he grew up in the bayou with a bubble around his neck. I don't know what we're talking about exactly. To be honest, I feel like perhaps I don't know. I'm taking a stab. Are we talking about slavery in some capacity, or perhaps some sort of colonization in which the baby boy comes from royal lineage, but they're trying to hide that because wherever this baby was born, whether it's America or somewhere else, where perhaps there's slavery and such, they're not royal anymore. Something like that, because they say don't tell him about his father, don't tell him about his name, where of course he would learn of his lineage there. Cajun woman, some people still call you a queen. I don't believe you're sinking, but look at all the trouble you've been. That's kind of the idea I'm getting. You know, they're trying to hide this child's lineage. Perhaps they would cause an uprising if everyone knew. I don't know. That's just the idea I kind of think of. It's good though. Let's see if there's anything about Cajun Woman here. And that's going to be Dave Swarbrick, which is a really cool name, who's playing the fiddle actually on this track. So it wasn't violin, it was fiddle that was being played. He's played of course, Fairport Convention. I was trying to see if he's played with anyone else. Martin Carthy, never heard of her. Sorry. That's the only name I recognize in his list. But I don't see anything else specific about Cajun Woman. It does say here, in the View of Mojo magazine reviewer Mike Baines, Thompson's writing reached maturity on Genesis Hall. Cajun Woman, which opens the second side of the album, features Dave Swarbrick's fiddle playing in his first work with Fairport. Okay. Having no electric pickups, the band improvised by smashing open a telephone and attaching the microphone to the instrument with an elastic band. Now that's creative. Who thought of that? Smashing open a telephone and attaching the microphone to the instrument with an... I guess that is one way to... Okay, I would have... Wow. You know, that's why sometimes they say, like, with any sort of arts, music, movies, etc., sometimes in the beginning, the artist can really have the most control over their work because maybe they don't have a huge budget, so they don't have all the bells and whistles and things they can work with. So they're more like improvisational in what they're, you know, working within their means, trying to figure things out. There's a little bit more of like a drive there. Then they may make it and they get, you know, all the bells and whistles, the recording studios and everything that they did want, but now they don't need to work as hard for it. There's like a little bit of an argument to be made for that kind of thing, but that is a really cool kind of workaround that they came up with. I like that. You know what I also like? The next track on the album, Who Knows Where the Time Goes. Why not listen to it? We'll go.
Before the winter fire, time for them to go.
Like I said, I've already heard that song. Whoa, hold on, Percy. Hold on. Like I said, I've already heard that song before. You can actually find my first reaction to that song somewhere here on the channel. I gotta be honest, I kind of spaced out listening to it. And not like in an I ignored it or I didn't hear it kind of way. It's just that it's just such a gorgeous song that I was paying attention to it, but like I was just kind of walking through the woods, if you will. I was just walking through the woods. There's a light mist going on. There's some beautifully cloaked woman in the distance. I can barely make out her shadow, but she's there singing this wonderful song of nostalgic love and wanting to be close to the one that she does love and the warmth of it all. And she's so inviting, and once you get there, then the mist evaporates and she's gone. I really love the string arrangement, particularly in this track here, with the strumming chords acoustically on one side, whether it's guitar, dulcimer, or whatever it may be, and then the very carefully laid out and carefully planned electric guitar playing just on the other side. And both of them are played very equally, but also kind of subtle, kind of in the undercurrents of everything. And that's what I mean, like the mist. And of course, with the mysticality of her voice as well, that is just so light. There's a power behind it, a very delicate kind of power. behind it, like spider's silk, in which it looks weak, it looks thin. And I don't mean like that's probably came across the wrong way. I don't mean she looks weak. I don't know what Sandy Denny looks like. I don't mean like she sounds weak. I just mean it's delicate. There's a softness in her voice. But at the same time, like silk, there's not only beauty, but a strength, a very, very strong strength in there. And a deep power, a kind of resonant power in her voice and in the way that she sings. That once again, I find like this, like a siren's call into the woods and the music. And I just think that is extremely beautiful the way that that's played. I won't spend too much time talking about this song because I've already talked about it before in another video. But let's kind of just quickly review the lyrics on this one before we move on. Across the evening sky, all the birds are leaving, but how can they know it's time for them to go? Before the winter fire, I will still be dreaming. I have no thought of time, for who knows where the time goes, and who knows where the time goes. Sad, deserted shore, your fickle friends are leaving. Ah, but then you know it's time for them to go. But I will still be here. I have no thought of leaving. I do not count the time. All right, I can't help it. It's just the funniest thing, like my imagination. You know when you have friends and people over to your house, and then like you're kind of done for the night, and you do like one of these, oh, well, it's getting kind of late, guys. Anyways, and I am not alone while my love is near. I know it will be so until it's time to go. So come the storms of winter and then the birds in spring again. I have no fear of time, for who knows how my love grows. Who knows where the time goes. There's this beautiful contrast and I guess connection really that she brings up between nature, the birds leaving, the birds coming back. How do they know when to leave and to come back? Don't worry about that too much. Who knows where the time goes? Who knows? But as long as you're near me, as long as my love is near me, I know everything will be okay. I know everything's going to be just fine in the end. That's really, really strong writing, and I love the way that it's presented here in the music. So, let's move on into the next track, which is Percy's song here. My wife just texted me, 10 minutes away. That was about 5 minutes ago. Do I have time to do Percy's song? I don't. So I'm going to do So I'm going to chill for a second, going to do a quick edit, and then we'll listen to the last 2 tracks on the album. Edit! All right. I am back. Let's go ahead and move on into the next track. Let's see. That is going to be Percy's song. Oh, let's go.
Bad news, come to me where I sleep. Oh, what's the charge of how this came to be? Turn to the rain and the wind. I walked down the courthouse stairs and did not understand.
Percy's song is probably one of the most powerful songs on the album. The lyrics, the theme, yes, definitely. But instrumentally, this is like a folk hymn song. The repeated lyrics and lines of turn to the wind and the rain, or the rain and the wind, I should say, that repeats pretty much in between every single line spoken here. It has a little bit of a hymn feeling in just that repeated mantra. I'm thinking so much about this song. Okay. The most standout thing besides just the overall arc of it all is the dulcimer. Now I can finally really pick it out in here. Makes me want to grab my dulcimer just to kind of like demonstrate. Hold on. I'm going to be right back. I don't usually do this because I don't really play, but hold on a second. I got my own dulcimer here. I don't play, but like I fiddle around. Probably my headphones are going to mess this up. Hold on. Put it under, get a little closer. Okay. The dulcimer notably has a little bit of a thinner, tinnier sound because there's only 4 strings on it compared to a typical guitar and all that other stuff, right? But in here, you can actually pick out, of course, the playing of the dulcimer because it's really taking lead. The acoustic guitar is kind of just strumming along gently, eventually a little bit more powerfully, but for the most part gently. And then the dulcimer is actually really taking lead in this particular track for pretty much the whole thing, starting very, very soft and then really building up into something palpable. So I almost said Palpatine. Now, I don't know if it's going to be Simon or Richard who's playing the dulcimer here, but I like how near the end, as the song kind of gets to its resolution, because the story is basically this person gets a call in the night. The call is, hey, your best friend's in trouble, getting sent to jail. They were in a car accident, they were at the wheel, and 4 people in the car died. So they're going to jail for manslaughter. So our protagonist rushes to their aid, gets to the court, trying to talk to the judge. Hey, this is a good person, they're my friend, they would never harm a fly, etc., etc. The judge eventually just says, nothing I can do, sorry. So it's, once again, a tragic song, right? Love the story in here. But near the end, as we get towards the resolution of it all, as we know that the judge is going to pretty much say, like, sorry, can't do anything, and as the music is really building up to that, excuse me, on the dulcimer, I don't know what notes he's playing, but he's just sliding back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you can really hear the slide. Like, I don't know what I'm going to play. Hold on. Is it in tune? Should be. So you just hear him going like, I don't know the notes, but he's going like, I told you, I don't play. I just like piddle around. But he's going back and forth. Like, that slide is extremely notable. And I just thought that was really cool, like, for them to implement that. All right, let me show you guys a little bit of a song I've been trying to work on. Hold on. That's not it. Hold on. That ain't it. That is it. It's been a while. Hold on. I don't remember what I was doing. It's something, but it's a beautiful instrument. Anyways, I just mess around with that. So was that my excuse to try and mess with my dulcimer a little bit? Probably. But either way, I just really like how this song really builds up, kind of like the other ones that we heard, especially with like Sailor's Life, the story, the development of it all, the constant nature of the melody, but it's how those natures and that melody builds up in a very, very organic sense, starting from something very small, turning into something very big, from a grain of sand into eventually a sand hill. You know, we can talk about the lyrics a little bit, actually. Which, by the way, this is another cover from Bob Dylan. He apparently wrote this in his 1963 sessions for his third album, The Times Are Changing, but it was ultimately not included on that particular album. And as we mentioned before, they heard this song and they really wanted to cover it, along with many others. We won't go through every single line, but bad news, come to me where I sleep. Turn, turn, turn again, saying one of your friends is in trouble deep. Turn, turn to the rain and the wind. So that repeated mantra of turn, turn to the rain and the wind is like, imagine being in a storm, but instead of running away from it, turn towards it. Fight it, oppose it, work against it. Try, right? But at the end of the day, and if you think realistically, you can't literally fight against a storm. Just as, in this case, she tried to not fight against the judge, but to, argue for her friend's sake, and it just didn't work out. Skipping down a little bit, but I knew him as good as I'm knowing myself, and he wouldn't harm a life that belonged to someone else. The judge, he spoke out the side of his mouth, saying the witness who saw, he left little doubt. That may be true, he's got a sentence to serve, but 99 years he just don't deserve. And of course, I'm skipping the turn, turn to the rain and wind in between each of the lines. Too late, for his case is sealed. His sentence, it is passed and cannot be repealed. But he ain't no criminal and his crime, it is none. What happened to him could happen to anyone. And at that, the judge jerked forward and his face, it did freeze, saying, could you kindly leave my office now, please? And then the ending, and I played my guitar through the night to the day, and the only tune my guitar could play was Oh Cruel Rain and Wind. So, obviously, fighting against such a powerful force, the judge, the sentence, it just didn't work out in the end. Now, if I'm thinking even a little bit deeper, turn to the rain and the wind, could that have also been something spoken within the car? Someone telling the driver turn towards the rain and the wind? Maybe there was a literal storm that kind of took out the car, and that was like their advice. Maybe? I don't know, maybe I'm digging too deep. Let me put my dulcimer away because it's obvious that I am out of practice and whatever I just did on this thing was not really pleasurable. Let me put this away here. And with that, let us move on into the final track of the album, which, hold on, gotta put my headphones on, gotta pull up the track list one more time. It's gonna be $1 Million Bash. I almost said $1 Million Baby. That's a movie, isn't it? $1 Million Bash. Let's go.
They come, well, the bigger they crack. Come now, sweet queen, and don't forget to flash.
And with $1 Million Bash, we finish out Unhalfbricking with a big old party, bigger than the first one we heard earlier on the album with Tu Dois Partir. I couldn't remember how to say it, but this one once again brings up the celebration, brings up the festivities. But now why? I don't know, but I'm assuming they spent $1 million on this bash, and it was quite a memorable party. What is most noteworthy, though, is that Sandy Denny is not singing lead on this one, at least. She's singing the chorus, it seems like, but not lead. Apparently that's going to be Mark Ellington, who's singing lead on this particular track. I'm just looking at him. He was an American-born British folk and folk rock singer, songwriter, guitarist, and bagpiper. You know, bagpipes, I think when they're done right, could be kind of a cool sound, especially when Korn does it. That was one of the most unique things about them. So that's where he is, and that's what he's doing. So him and Sandy kind of trade back and forth in the vocal department. Otherwise, I really enjoy the light pickings on the my side, on the right side. Just ding, 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 ding. This is more of like a country song to me. This sounds more country song rather than folk song. But throughout this album, they've kind of been playing around with different genres, bringing in jazz, of course, the rock and roll. They're kind of taking in a lot of different influences, but I think you got to admit, like, it all sounds super, super well done the way that they do it. They actually make it feel like it's their own. They're not just borrowing different ideas from different genres and types of music. They're actually making it their own and being very creative with it. It kind of reminds me of, like, obviously completely different bands, but it reminds me of how the Doors takes on blues. Like, yes, they're obviously taking on blues, but they're soaking it in their own brand of whiskey that it comes out completely different. Fairport Convention are doing something completely different, although the influences in their music are very, very clear. And I think they do a great job of just putting it all together, really. Well, that big dumb blonde with Gorgeous George and Turtle, a friend of theirs, with his checks all forged and his cheeks in a trunk with the cheese in the cash, they're all going to be there at that $1 Million Bash. Well, I guess they're just writing bad checks. The check was forged. Oh, baby, it's that $1 Million Bash. Everybody from right now, go over there and back. The louder they come, well, the bigger they crack. Come now, sweet pea, don't forget the flash. We're all going to meet at that $1 Million Bash. Well, I took my counselor out to the barn. Silly Nellie was there. She told him a yarn. Then along came Jones and emptied the trash. Everyone went down to that $1 Million Bash. I think they're just having a big old party, not worrying about the cost or bad checks or anything. Well, I looked at my watch and then I looked at my wrist, punched myself in the face with my fist, and I took my taters back home to be mashed. Then I made it right on to that $1 Million Bash. I don't. There must be something different about that one. There must be a deeper story or something going on here. Now, obviously, this one, of course, again, is a Bob Dylan original. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I can find on this one, because I just think that's the lyrics are really funny, the meaning and the lyrics. Here you go, bob-dylan.org. I will agree to your privacy. That's fine. That's fine. $1 Million Bash. This is talking about Dylan. Was recorded in 1967 as part of the Basement Tapes. One could say it is the song of the biggest party in the world, with the coming together of all the strange people that Dylan has populated his songs with, from 115th Dream through to Tombstone Blues. That's interesting, thinking about it like that. Asking exactly who these people are is a bit like trying to ask the meaning of each manifestation in a painting by Dali or Hieronymus Bosch. That they just are, and if you turn them into something else, or indeed anything at all, fair enough, they are just symbols, part of the world Dylan is describing. Okay, so I can kind of see it like that. And if that is true, I do think that that's interesting, having these kind of characters perhaps in his life experiences that he's met and kind of putting them all together in this particular track. The duck is back again. Before we end this video, let's just see if there's any interesting facts about this particular album. Actually, I see the a subject title here for the album cover, and I'm curious about the art and the title of it, actually. It says here, the title arose from the band playing the word game Ghost while traveling to and from gigs. Never heard of it. Its object was to avoid completing a real word, and Unhalfbricking was Sandy Denny's creation. Eric Hayes took the photo on the sleeve design for the UK release, which featured neither album title nor band name. The photo captured Denny's parents, Neil and Edna Denny, standing outside the family home at 9B Arthur Road. With the band distantly visible through the garden fence. Am I able to see the band? I didn't notice that. Hold on. Oh, there they are. I've seen this album cover before because we've covered a track from here. I've never noticed the band back there. I've never noticed them sitting back there. That's actually really funny. It's like one of those little cameos. It's like a Samuel L. Jackson cameo. It says that Unhalfbricking's cover in the US, released by A&M Records, was even less informative. It consisted of a picture of circus elephants with a small inset image of the band, allegedly because the group apparently so upset their American label that they replaced it with an image of trampolining elephants. Why does the record label have to get involved with that? What's going on? The aftermath of the album on the 11th of May 1969, 2 months before the album was released, drummer Martin Lamble and Jeannie Franklin, the girlfriend of guitarist Richard Thompson, were killed in a road accident as the band were returning from a concert. So he didn't even get to see the release of the album. That's really sad. Ashley Hutchings said, in relation to the album cover photograph, my memory of it is bound up with the terrible car crash. On the back cover, we're all eating around a table. The shirt and the leather waistcoat I'm wearing are what I had on when the crash happened. I can clearly remember them being bloodstained. You don't forget things like that. So it says that this album, of course, was a difficult period of time for the group, but of course the album was very successful and enthusiastically received. Wow. After a period of intense reflection about their future, they decided to pursue the folk rock idea further, and violinist Dave Swarbrick was invited to join full-time, which he would be noted on their next album, Liege and Leaf. Wow. Well, that's extremely sad. It kind of reminds me of Allman and the plane crash and everything, but... I'm sorry, it was a motorcycle accident, if I remember correctly. That's really sad. But the album is really, really, really good. I think my favorite song really is Autopsy. I think Autopsy, well, no, I don't think. I know. Autopsy is easily my favorite song on the album. And then probably the next one, Who Knows Where the Time Goes. That's just a classic. But anyways, thank you all so much for sticking with me, for sticking around, for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed the album with me. I hope you enjoyed listening to the album with me. I've been trying to do full album reactions occasionally. I can't do like a ton of them. I have to cut out a chunk of time, make sure I can actually relax and do it. I don't want to be trying to rush through songs. I just want to like relax, listen to the music, talk a little bit. But I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, on the whole album, maybe your favorite songs, etc., etc. And besides that, let's get into the outro. You can follow me on Twitter. You can support the channel on Patreon. You don't have to, but it helps. You can like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it, actually. Hey, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here with me, and I will see you all later. Bye.